And we are recording. How's it going, man?
Everything's fine over here. Can't wait to finally hit the stage again, but that will take a couple of more weeks until we enter North America next year. How are you?
I am so fucking stoked. You're going to be at Dante's in Portland, Oregon on the 22nd of March. And
Exactly.
I'm going to go to that show.
Lovely. We have a day off afterwards, so sounds like a good party.
Sounds good. Well, Steffen Kummerer, I want to tell you a little bit about my show. We are the Metal Mixtape out of Ashland, Oregon. We support local bands. We support global bands. It doesn't matter if you have 100 likes or 1 million likes. We are here to support you. And one of the things we do on this show is that we always interview a smaller band with a bigger band. That way we help out like our local scenes.
Cool.
Yeah. So when we air your interview on Thursday, we're going to have a local band's interview air before.
That's a fantastic idea.
Hell yeah, man. Well, but no, I appreciate it, man. You know, we try to do as much as we can for the beautiful thing we love, heavy metal.
Yeah, that's how it works. That's exactly how it works. That's also the way we got a couple of tours back in the days because, well, everybody starts as an underground band and somehow starts in a small, filthy and rotten rehearsal room. So that's how it works. You help each other. That's how the scenes worked in the last 50 years and probably will also work in the upcoming 50 years.
Absolutely, man. I agree. So before we get into your new album, A Valediction, which is absolutely fucking destruction, man. I had to listen to this album 2 times. I listened to it last night and I listened to it again this morning, man. And you know what? There's so many bands out there in the world, and I am so happy that I'm in radio because I get to find out about bands like you guys. And you know, I've listened to Obscura from my friend, my co-host, always playing it on our radio show in Oregon. And I dove into your guys' albums, dude. And I just want to say, first off, like your guys' musicianship is like fucking fantastic, man.
Thank you very much. Lots of notes. That's what we are famous for.
So you know what? Like I said, before we get into the new album, I always like to get about how a musician got in this plane, like if it was like a family influence or if like a bunch of friends just got them to play in a heavy metal band. Like as a little kid, man, tell me the first moment or teenager or adult, like you got into like that kind of like metal of extreme and kind of that extended range, you know, string instruments. Tell me that first moment where you kind of transition into like that technical part of heavy metal.
Actually, I have an entirely different background. In my family, no one was a musician at all. At school, somehow somebody discovered I have a certain talent, so I got a certain scholarship for a music school for musically gifted kids. So I went to a boarding school for a couple of years and learned how to sing, learned how to play piano, learned to train my ear and all that for a couple of years, but then I quit because I was not interested in all that. And as a teenager, I somehow discovered heavy metal, the classic way, friends of friends of friends who had like big brothers, listened to extreme metal. And well, I was educated through Megadeth, Slayer, and all the Scandinavian black metal wave and the US American, let's call it wave of progressive death metal, Cynic Atheist, Death, of course, and all those bands. And somehow, I think after a couple of years, I just discovered, okay, there are a couple of cool bands. I want to do the same. So I picked up a guitar at the age of 16. And half a year later, I founded Obscura. So Obscura is the first band I ever founded in my life. And I'm still doing exactly what I started 20 years ago.
That's beautiful, man. Like, you really got to have you really got to know what you want to play as far as like your music. If you've only been in that one band that like you founded, I feel like so many times, you know, it's so hard to find like individuals that really want to share the same idea with you. Was that a problem when you first started Obscura, like getting everybody surrounded around like a certain concept or idea you wanted to replicate in the music?
I think the very beginning we all have been friends who just wanted to play music, and there was nothing serious about it. It was just about having a good time together, having all of your friends in one room and somehow working on, music together. And this is what we translated from the very first days to right now, because this is what we do at the moment as well. Of course, the band went a little bit bigger. We toured the world multiple times, but the essence and the core of what this band is just the joy and excitement of making music. And that's all. Of course, when you're a heat-headed little teenager, you don't make wise decisions. You go straight head to head into conversations and confrontations. But we experienced good times, bad times. It's all history. It's all, part of this band. So again, to come back to your question, it's still the same and it's not.
You know what? You know, you've been with your bandmates. You know, you're saying how like, you know, everybody is like so committed and like, you know, was all about just like having fun. When you guys are writing these albums and like, you know, getting older and, you know, trying out new things, is it like what's the discussion in the band room before you decide to release a new album?
Well, with this particular new record, I made clear the focus is the live situation, because for me, Obscura is a live band. We play 150 shows per album, and as I mentioned, globally. So everything we do in the studio, we have to somehow reproduce on stage, and I want to reproduce it on stage with excitement. I don't want to play a clinic. I'm not making music for musicians. It's simply. As a fan, we are all fans ourselves. So if you go to a show, you don't want to see somebody showing off, because it's a little bit snobistic somehow. So it's like the big mixture out of emotion, out of intense sweat and feeling and everything you have in a metal show, combined with this technical approach we have, because we like technical music. But the essence of all that was the live situation, and therefore we said, okay, we want to write something that is working in a live situation. We need songs that work, because the music is everything. So if you have songs that you can reproduce, also the production will change. And if the production will change, the entire pace and vibe of an album will also alter a little bit. So this was the main and I would say most important sentence and aim we had. And looking back, we started writing the album probably maybe 1.5, 2 years ago. It turned out exactly how we wanted. So let's see how we can prove what I just said when we hit the stage next year.
Dude, okay, so one thing I gotta ask as a guitarist is that I'm in a heavy metal band too, and you know, me and my lead guitar player, we're always going back and forth trying to write like solos and stuff. And sometimes, we're different guitar players, so we both have our different strengths. So we can't play something a little harder than what our other guitar player can play. But with you and Christian, when you guys are both writing leads and solos, are you guys trying to like write to complement each other, or is it just like free reign?
It's entirely free, but I wanted to make sure that when Chris and me work together, that he's taking most of the solo spots, because I'm singing and playing this kind of stuff on the guitar is it's demanding. But if you sing as well, you don't need to play solos on top. And it's simply, again, how it should work in a live situation. And if somebody else takes a solo spot, doesn't matter if it's the drummer, the guitarist, or bassist, I simply have some time to enjoy being on stage. Because if you're multitasking, it can be quite hard. But again, we both play on stage. We also play in the studio. And when we compose solos, especially on the new album, we try to get back into the 80s with the solo duels, back and forth, and in the end you have like a twin harmony lead or something super cheesy, but it somehow works.
You love cheese, man. I love it.
Yeah, sometimes it's just a a little sequence in the very end of the solo. You play with both guitars, but this is so cool also to see live. It's simply fantastic. I love it. It's cheesy, but it's not too cheesy.
No, I love it, man. I grew up on Adrian and Dave Murray, you know, like doing those back-to-back solos and then harmonizing, and Steve Harris would come in and harmonize with a bass line, dude. Like, bringing up a song, this is why my favorite solo section out of the whole album is probably the Neuromancer.
Mm-hmm.
And that solo, dude, like, I'd probably say my favorite song off the new album is Forsaken or Orbital Elements. But dude, like, holy shit, dude, like I love hearing you guys' guitar soloing, but you know, and the shredding. But one thing that also caught my eye about the album is you guys have like such a gnarly bass tone. Like a lot of times when I'm listening to an album, like it almost sounds like it's all Injustice for All the time, you know? A lot of loud guitars. You sort of hear the bass in there. But with this one, dude, it was like very distinct, dude. Tell me a little bit. I don't want to pronounce his name wrong, but is it Joran?
It's Jeroen. It's a Dutch name.
Oh.
Well,
okay.
Jeroen is playing fretless bass since the late 80s. So he's a little bit older than us. He played in a band called Pestilence in the early 90s and recorded an album called Spheres, which turned out to be a classic. And he's known for his very tasteful bass lines, and especially playing fretless bass since decades. So in our band, the rhythm guitars are more, how I could say, the entire arrangements are built that way that the rhythm guitars take over the rhythm much more than sometimes the bass does. So the bass, with being fretless, is a little bit more free, and sometimes even takes over some lead lines. And therefore, we have much more freedom and ideas or options where to go while arranging a song. So it's really something special. And I think within the last 5 albums, is definitely some kind of a signature sound or a piece of our signature sound of the band itself. So if you have somebody with those abilities and those tasteful playings, you also need to make it audible. So in that case, we really need this sound to come through. And when I listen to the record through headphones, I can sing along the bass lines, but I also hear the guitars, rhythms, and everything. It's so almost 3-dimensional. That's what really stands out. I know sometimes the bass is debatable. It's well, like it or don't like it. It's a quite controversial instrument in our universe, but for us, it's important. Every band member needs to be, well, you need to underline each character of each instrumentalist in the band. And this is something a lot of bands somehow forget. Sometimes the bass is just meant to be, well, filling up frequencies to make your mix sounding a little bit thick or something, but within Obscura, it's equally to the guitars.
I love it, man. No, I love all that. And like you were saying, you know, all your bandmates, you know, David is an absolutely shredding drummer, dude. So, you know, and that's why, like, I really need to see your guys' band live, dude. Because, like, I was watching your live videos and I even checked out, like, your way older material, dude. And it's just shredding. You know, one of the things I want to ask you as a musician is when you were first like doing your albums and everything and writing a song, what was the hardest part for you to write in a song? Like the ending, the middle section, the solos, or the beginning? Like, because for me, you know, it's always like, how do you end the song? You know, how do you bring back a chorus? Like for you, when you were, you know, writing songs, what was one of your hardest tasks growing up?
Well, everyone in the band has a different approach to writing songs. I can just speak for myself, because I know Christian is writing mostly, as far as I know, on Guitar Pro, so he's composing probably with guitar in his hands, and then he builds up an entire song. I'm writing a little bit different. Everything starts with a strong melody or a very strong chorus. If I have that, I'm trying to find some ideas for verses, and then I build up a middle part and everything, and then I start. I call it deconstruction, writing through deconstruction, because first I have the big blocks, like the raw parts, and then I'm dismantling piece by piece by piece all the little details, and also translate everything into sheet music, also into Guitar Pro, and then I'm starting to analyze it. But to the core, everything is always about the strong melodies, something that you keep in your head, and that's something we did 20 years ago as well as we do right now. Finding those melodies without being too cheesy and too odd or repeating yourself. I think this is the most difficult part, because you always have to bring something new. You don't want to repeat yourself. You don't want to record an album you already recorded years ago. So bringing something new to the table while still keeping the essence of your band, I think this thin line in between is really hard to find.
Absolutely, man. And I've heard that before. Definitely start with like this. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to re-listen to this interview, because I'm gonna write down everything you just said.
Yeah, it's highly recommended. It's really cool.
Yeah, because when I listen to a lot of songs and I try to write music, I'm like, oh man, they always bring back like the beginning chorus really strong, and I always feel like I get lost writing like solos for like 4 minutes, and I'm just like, hey, is it cool if we just don't sing for 4 minutes and just do like a straight Metallica? It's it's definitely interesting, and one of the things I loved was it in when Worlds Collide, right? Your video?
When Stars Collide, yeah.
Oh, when Stars Collide. Cool, I have it. Sorry, I'm an idiot. Forgive me. But the thing is I really love the clean vocals towards the end, and I feel like a lot of like death metal fans or metalcore fans or something, they're kind of like, oh, why'd you mix in like clean vocals or anything like that? Did you guys ever have like a discussion like that in the band room, or is it just like we're playing what we want?
I think nowadays we simply don't care at all anymore. We had clean vocals, I think, on all albums in the past, back to 2004, but not that, let's call it obvious, because we had Björn Street from Solberg in the Ninth Five Orchestra taking care of this particular song as a guest vocalist, and his voice is so unique. You definitely hear him out of 1,000 different notes. So this definitely had some AOR and classic rock influence somehow, and stronger than we actually initially thought. But it's a cool song. There's no right or wrong. It's just about having a cool song. And for me, it turned out just wonderful. And when we recorded the song and also had Bjorn singing on it, we just decided, okay, we need a proper music video that features somehow of this 80s feeling. So we got an old Corvette, an old Mustang. We even got a car that was somehow owned by David Hasselhoff. How German is that? I mean, that's to 11 and beyond. So to come back to you, I think we just don't care anymore. We just do what we want.
It's insane, man. You've been playing music for 20 years, but like in the last like 15, it feels like, now everybody has an opinion, all these things get, you have to be safe on social media and everything. When you post your videos or you release an album and all that, do you read into the comments?
Not too much anymore. Like 10, 15 years ago, I did. I consumed basically everything I could find, simply because I was interested how all those opinions are. But as you mentioned, everybody has an opinion, and I don't need to know everybody's opinion. It's that clear. I have a couple of close friends and a family who listens to the album, where I also know that they are really straight and sharp when it comes to critics. And I listen to them. And in the end, I have to listen to myself if this is cool, what I deliver or not. But opinions on the internet, it's getting a little bit too much in the last couple of years. I mean, you can't say anything without getting a so-called shitstorm, something. It's a little bit annoying, and I think it's already old-fashioned. I think we are past all that.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree, man. I feel like a lot of times, people just like try to be negative just to be negative and get a rise instead of actually like critiquing a content, there's a social media thing called, Blabbermouth. And sometimes, I'll see them do a post, right, about like a band or something. And immediately without like, I'm sure these people aren't reading the articles because within like 2 seconds, there's like 40 hate comments. And I'm just like, you guys haven't even clicked on the article. You haven't read one word. Like, you're literally trolling the troll.
Yeah, well, it's all traffic. Thanks for the GPR. So, no, it's hilarious. It's really hilarious how people act these days. But well, it's in their heads nowadays. It's quite easy to post your opinion anonymously, and people go for it. People simply somehow give you a certain attention, even if they hate you, and that's in the end something good. So even if they hate you, they somehow give you something, and that's attention.
No, I dig it, dude. I dig it. Quick question for me. This will take 2 seconds. What tune do you play?
A standard.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna go tune my 7-string right after this interview. All right. So one thing I loved, man, is your signature guitar, and which is absolutely fantastic. And I saw that you were a part of Rand Guitars before you got your signature with ESP. So for you on a guitar, like how easy was the transition to like make a guitar for ESP that was to your liking? Because you were with one guitar company for a long time. Was it pretty easy to replicate when you switched over?
Yes, that was super easy. I mean, first of all, I own the shape. That's my shape.
Oh.
And Rain Guitar built it for me. In the end, the company Rain Guitars is a small Polish manufacturer from Eastern Europe. Unfortunately, the company went out of business a couple of years ago. I don't know the exact story, but somehow they're not there anymore. I know the website is still active, but I'm not sure if they're still building something. So after a couple of years not hearing a single word from the company, I just switched. In the end, it was ESP. And with ESP, we adjusted a couple of things on the guitar. So actually, I was flying down to Tokyo to visit ESP in the factory some years ago. So I got the entire tour. I talked to everybody in the factory, which was really, really, really cool. It's just cool to see how all those Kirk Hammett signature guitars are built and all the E2s and all that. It was really cooler than Christmas and New Year's Eve together. So definitely a highlight in my career. And the gentlemen in ESP, they put a lot of thoughts into this guitar and how to make it a little bit better. Especially the adjustment between neck and body had some issues on the previous guitars. It was really hard to play anything above the 15th fret because it was almost like a block I had in my hand. And now we made some kind of a cutaway on the very back, simply to make it more convenient when you're playing solos while standing. And a couple of more tiny adjustments. We also changed the woods and the pickups and everything. It looks the same, but it plays entirely different. And it sounds a little bit more clean and a little bit more sharp, I would say, especially for what we're doing, those fast articulate notes, especially in the rhythm guitars. Well, you need to somehow unfold this and keep it visible and audible, especially audible. So I'm very happy with the guitar. I recorded a couple of things already, and unfortunately, I haven't been able to play it live yet. So that's something we definitely have to do next year.
Well, dude, I know I am so excited for your shows, man. Believe me, dude. You know what? I'm gonna ask a couple more questions. Then we're gonna get out of here. So right now there's a whole new like movement going on where you can get like plugins, mods, all sorts of things you can do with like recording the computer, cut and paste in, program drums and all that. As a guitarist, do you still prefer recording with like a tube amp over a Kemper, or what did you record with on this album?
We recorded with an Engel amplifier. I'm working with the company since I think 2009 around, and this is part of our sound. We use EMG pickups and the Engel amps, different Engel amps, all the time, live and in the studio. Yes, I love tube amplifiers and a real microphone because it simply sounds different. I know Kemper amps are fine; they're quite convenient. There are also XFXs and a couple of other brands. It works, it's fine, but it's not my taste. There's no right or wrong at all, and I see the pros, but I also see the cons. And for me, a tube amplifier is simply a dynamic instrument with all the response frequencies shifting around with the tube itself. I mean, it's the physics of the tube. It simply sounds different. But if you think about the consumer, if you're listening through Spotify with cheap AirPods or something, of course, nobody could hear a difference between a Kemper and a tube amplifier. So it's just a matter of taste. If I listen to the album here and not in my studio, but in my living room through I would say a normal audio system, it sounds fantastic. And this is what everything is about. I love tube amplifiers, others don't. I love, I don't know, a Boss HM2 as well. Not in this band, but it's real. It feels like a real sound, and you have a lot of noises. And that's also a matter of sound decision. If you're playing in a gent band, perhaps a Kemper fits better to your sound. I mean, if you're playing in a soul band, if you're playing some kind of jazz, perhaps a transistor is cool for you. It always depends on the taste. There's no right or wrong.
I like it, man. No, that's a good answer. I've messed with a few plugins on my computer and over an amp. I definitely think it's more convenient, but I love the roar of an amp. The feeling the heat coming off and just feeling that vibration. And with I feel like a lot of times with like if you're plugging in directly with a Kemper or a pedal, like you really have to talk to the sound guy because the sound guy could really screw you up.
Yeah, absolutely. Alternatively, you're playing through an in-ear system. You have the perfect sound every day, but there's no connection to the audience anymore. So you're basically a clown in front of an audience. And we've been in a situation years ago when we played with Nintenjoel. We played in Poland, and we had an in-ear system. We played and played and played, and the first 3 songs, nobody was moving at all. And then after song number 4, people were freaking out, and well, shit got flying. Turned out our sound engineer was totally drunk in the bus, and we played without a PA running. Just at song number 4, somebody nice was there and turned it on. So.
Holy shit, dude.
That can happen. I mean, if you take too much gear, too much equipment, and shit like that can happen. It's not cool, not at all. If you're playing with a really raw equipment, just amp, bass head, drums, like a punk rock band, this never can happen. So there's always something wrong. There's always something that can happen, and there are pros and cons for everything. But that's life.
Yeah. So about your new album, A Valediction, for the Obscura fans out there listening and everything, and that maybe haven't listened to the whole album, what can they expect from this Obscura album that's different from your previous?
First of all, there are more solos than on all albums before. The record goes to 11, because there are 11 songs on the album. Fredrik Nordström called it BOM, Best of Metal, because you have everything between hard rock, black metal, death metal, fusion jazz, thrash metal, death metal, everything. Just everything. Best of metal. Listen to the record.
I love it, man. I love it. All right. I'm gonna try to go through all these questions in a minute and a half. I'm gonna ask you a bunch of fun questions before I say goodbye to you. Are you ready, Steffen?
Absolutely.
All right, Steffen. If you could choose your death, but you had to get murdered by somebody from a horror film, who would you choose to murder you, and how would they do it?
I choose the minions and I slip on a banana.
I like it. Steffen, if you could play guitar for one band for one era in one set, dead or alive, who's that one band?
Death symbolic.
I like it, dude. I like it. What is something your fans don't know that you're good at besides music?
I'm pretty much into design. I build up stage designs and make basically everything for this band happening that you see on the pictures.
It's all right. For this next one, is there some like a hobby you want to get into that you haven't gotten into yet that you've kind of realized you really love getting older?
No, I do whatever.
I like it. I like it, man. So that was our interview, man. Thank you so much for being on the Metal Mixtape. We were talking to Steffen from Obscura. I need one last favor from you. Can you say this is Steffen Kummerer from Obscura, and you're listening to the Metal Mixtape?
Yes. Hey, this is Steffen Kummerer from Obscura, and you're listening to the mixtape.
Thank you, brother. You have a great day. Thank you. You have no idea how much these interviews mean to me, man. This is my dream, and I appreciate you so much for giving a small FM radio show out of Ashland a shot.
Thank you very much. It would be a pleasure seeing you in Portland. Then.
Oh yeah, I'm going to be screaming out your name, going, Steffen, I interviewed you.
Oh, that's good. Okay. Looking forward to it. It was a pleasure talking to you, Omar. Have a nice day.
You too, man. Peace.
Bye. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.